Hi, readers. This week in reading, we're going to practice and use everything we've learned about becoming experts on series book characters and about reading in general, about stopping to think and retell, about summarizing, about just thinking as we're reading about what's happening in the story, to do some reading responses. Every day, you're going to choose a book, any fiction book from your Epic account, and read for at least 20 minutes. Then you're going to choose a reading response from our fiction reading response choice board, which I'm going to explain and go over with you right now. So this is our fiction reading response choice board, and the directions are right up here on top. It says, choose and complete a new reading response each day this week during reading time. Use everything you've learned about being experts on characters by noticing, wondering, and asking questions, and also noticing how characters respond to and solve their problems, because that also tells us a lot about them. In general, you're just going to pay attention and notice what characters say, what they do, how they feel, because all those things, the characters' actions and words, really tell you a lot about who they are. So here are some of the different reading responses that you can choose from to do each day. You have to choose a different response each day. So if on Monday you did asking questions, you can't do asking questions again on Tuesday. You have to choose something else, okay? So let me go over each one of these reading responses with you. Asking questions. In this reading response, you would write down whatever questions you would like to ask the author of this book. Right? What are you still wondering about the character, or about the setting, or about what the character did, or how they solved their problems? Do you have any questions? Did you notice any questions come up while you were reading? If you did, make sure you write them down and include them in this reading response. Another reading response you could do is a text connection. While you were reading, did you make a text-to-self connection between something that you read and something that happened to you in your life? Did what happened to the character ever happen to you? Did something close to that happen to you? Did you watch a movie that reminded you of what happened in the story? Tell me all about what happened in the story and what happened to you in your life that was the same as what happened in your story. Tell me all about that connection by adding lots and lots of details from the story and from your own life. The next thing you can do is do a character study. And this really goes well with what we've been doing in series books, right? You're going to choose one character from your fiction book, and you're going to write 2 character traits that describe them. 2 words that describe this character. But then you also have to tell me why. You have to give me details in the story about things that they said or things that they did that prove that they're that character trait. Okay, so you can't just list the 2 character traits. You have to use evidence from the story and details from the story to tell me why you chose those words for them. The next thing you can do is write a summary. And we always stop, think, and retell as every few pages as we're reading a story. But after you read the entire chapter or an entire story, you can write a summary of what happened in the entire book. Make sure to include important details from the story in your summary, and tell me about what happened in the story in order. What happened in the beginning, then what happened in the middle, what happened in the end. Make sure you tell me about the problem and how the characters solved the problem in your summary, because that's important. The next thing you could do is do a compare and contrast. If your story has 2 characters, you can pick those 2 characters and compare and contrast them by describing how they are alike and how they're different, right? Do they look the same? Do they act the same? Do they have the same character traits? Do they feel the same? Or do they look different? Do they act different? Do they feel different throughout the story, right? You have to tell me about ways that the characters are alike and ways that they're different. The next thing you can do is design a book cover. So if you were the author and that was your book, the book that you read was your book, if you could design the cover, what would your cover look like? Draw a picture to show me what your cover would look like. And if you could give that book a new title, what new title would you give that book? Think about what happened in the story to come up with a new title, and think about what happened in the story to come up with a picture to put on the front for that new book cover. The next thing you could do is identify story elements, right? We know that all stories have characters, setting, problem, and a solution. So what are they? Make a list. Tell me who the characters were. Tell me who the setting was. Tell me what the problem in the story was. Tell me how the steps that the characters took to solve the problem. You can also do a book review where you write your opinion or review of a book. So if you read a Mercy Watson book and you think that it was the funniest book you ever read and you think all your friends should read it, write to tell me why I should read it. Why is it funny? What was funny about that book, right? Who would you recommend read this story? Why do you want them to read it? Or why shouldn't they read it? If it wasn't a good book, what was wrong with it? What could have made it better? And make sure you include some details about why it was a great book or why it wasn't a great book, but don't tell everything, because then you'll take the fun out of it for your friend if they ever do read that book. Okay, so pick and choose some important details that explain why you would recommend that they do read that book or why you think they shouldn't read that book, but don't give away the whole story. And the last thing you can choose is making changes. If you could change a part of the story or add something to the story or make something different about the story, what would you change and why? Right? In Mercy Watson, would you change Mercy Watson liking buttered toast to Mercy Watson liking broccoli? Why? Why would you change that? So whatever changes you're going to make to the story, why would you change it that way? If you were the author, how would you change or revise the story to make it funnier or better? Okay, so every day you're going to read a book for 20 minutes on Epic, and then you're going to choose one of these reading responses, and then you can write your response either in a journal or in your reading response assignment on your student portfolio. All right? Great job, friends. I can't wait to read all of your reading responses. Happy reading, and I will see you soon. Bye.